I actually grew up in a church that did not do communion. We didn't do Christmas. We did Christmas personally, but the church did not do Christmas, did not do Easter, did not do any holidays. My father was Presbyterian. My mother grew up Church of Christ. A lot of the leaders in the church were Baptists, ex-Catholics. And when the charismatic renewal hit, they all came out of these churches that they were involved in, and they wanted to do church right. And that meant being filled with the Spirit, but not worrying about all this stuff from the history in the past. We didn't need the history of the church. We didn't need the past of Christianity because we were the new Christianity. If you ask my wife what she thought of my church growing up, somewhere in the conversation the word cult will arise. It was not a cult. I tell you, it was not a cult. But it definitely came close sometimes. They were really into whatever was new. If it was new, they ran it until it blew up and turned out it was really terrible, and then they'd back off until something else new came, and they actually ran off with one group where the leaders killed each other, literally. And they were like, okay, well, maybe we won't go with them. We didn't sing hymns. No hymns. We could take excerpts from hymns and make new songs out of them, but if it wasn't new. And I think that there is an element in your life that if you think that you're going to just be spontaneous with the Spirit, but disconnected from the liturgy of 2,000 years of Christian worship, it is a mistake. There's a point in which we need markers in our life. We need markers along the path that tell us when we're on the right track, or things that come to us that keep bringing us back to reevaluate. How am I doing? Am I on the right path? Am I getting a little off here? Because if you're off in your own little fantasy world, just you and Jesus, you just have nothing to keep you on the path. You've got to be able to come back. So in the Jewish community, they had a lot of these. Anybody read Numbers 15 with the giving of the tassel? Every morning, they woke up, they recited psalms, and they attached these tassels to their outer garment. Every night, they recited psalms and removed those tassels. Those tassels were symbols of their priesthood as a nation, that they were called to be a nation of priests to the world. Those tassels represented that priest relationship with the Lord. It represented the accountability that they had to be a priestly people. Well, they had lots of other things too. They had laws that they had to follow. So even farmers were being preached to and kept on the path. They were not to sow their field with two kinds of seeds. They were not to plow their field with two kinds of animals. They were not to wear garments mixed of two different types of cloths. These were not just silly little things. They weren't just ritual or only symbol. They were important symbols. Symbols that every time that they did them, preached to them. But what kind of people they were supposed to be. So one Jewish scholar says, I don't sow my field with two kinds of seed. I don't plow my field with two kinds of animals. I don't wear cloth mixed of two different materials. And I don't marry Canaanites. And we go, huh? That's the message. We don't mix. We don't mix. We don't mix. And so their whole lives were these markers, these places that they had to return to. And for us, the last time we talked about communion, I talked about the importance of communion as a time to constantly come back to that core commitment of faith, to ask ourselves, how am I doing with the Lord? And how am I doing with the body of Christ, my brothers and sisters? How am I doing? That's what communion is all about. Now, when does a symbol become bad? A symbol becomes bad when it replaces the real. Right? So, my mother, born in 1942, her father was away at war. And every night, when her mother said, let's say goodnight to Daddy, my mother ran to this picture of him in the living room and gave the picture a big kiss and went to bed. He is released from war. So he comes home. The first night that he's home, my grandmother says to my mother, "Go say goodnight to Daddy." And she runs right past him to the picture. That's when a symbol becomes a problem. Don't ever say it's just a ritual. It's just a symbol. No, it's a marker. It's a reminder. It's an important place to come back to. And as long as our hearts are there, and our hearts know its meaning, and our hearts are reaching for the real through it, it's a good place to be.
If you like what you're hearing today, please subscribe below, and don't forget to share it on as many platforms as you can, and tell your friends to watch. Thank you.